Good afternoon, IMAA members, and welcome to today's session. Today, we've got advanced television, and we're going to talk about the convergence between traditional and digital media, that merging of lanes, which is absolutely fascinating. It's happening right before our eyes. Our wonderful partners at Yahoo have brought this upon, and I'm going to introduce Julia Edwards and also Andrew Gilbert, who Andrew is the head of platform strategy, and Julia is our lead and our touch point, and runs pretty much most things over at Yahoo. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Julia to do a more eloquent introduction than myself. Over to you.
Thank you, Sam. And good afternoon, IMAA members. Thank you so much for joining us. So at Yahoo, our sole mission is to bring together the art and science of programmatic omnichannel buying. And what we have been really focused on, as Sam said, is the convergence of traditional platforms like out-of-home and TV and their digital counterparts, and providing ways to be able to sort of seamlessly help agencies and clients bring together those platforms to really be able to advance their media planning and buying. What Gilly is going to take you through today is our advanced TV suite of products, which has just launched in this market. It's the first international market globally outside of the US to have this product available. And he's going to sort of take you through the new sources of viewership data that we have available that help us power advanced television, and showcase the technology that really allows you to tie together that incremental and overlapping reach across all digital media on top of your linear TV buys. I will also introduce quickly MJ DeLuca, who is another contact that you can reach out to. So myself or MJ are here to answer any queries or questions that you have after this session, but please do ask any questions you would like to throughout the session in the chat box, and we'll have a brief Q&A at the end of the session as well, and look forward to sort of engaging with you all as we roll out this new innovation to market over the coming 12 months. I'll hand you over to Gilly.
Thanks, Jules. So as Jules was talking about today, what we're going to talk about is a brand new suite of products which we've been releasing to market. Fundamentally, the basis of what all of this comes from is trying to connect the physical world with the online world. Now, physically meaning either outside your house or within your home, and connecting that to the online environment in which you do a lot of your existing advertising already, whether that be through standard website or open web-based advertising, or anything across a connected television or native feeds, etc. Now, before I start this, I'm going to ask a question of everyone, just to get a little bit of interaction to help stage the rest of this presentation. But in terms of all of the agencies and the individuals on the call, can you please just give me a little bit of an indication of whether you are primarily from an offline, traditional television background, or more of a digital background? And you can kind of just pop that into the chat box by saying offline or online, if you'd like. And I'll explain the reason why I'm asking this in a second. Online, digital, online, total, online. Awesome. Okay. Online. All right. That's actually good to know, because what we're going to talk about today, and the way that we've been starting to bring this to market, is that we have to do a little bit of the fundamentals of TV training at the starts of these presentations for anyone that is primarily a programmatic or a digital buyer. And a lot of the time that's because the fundamentals of TV is quite a lot different to how we start to think about programmatic buying with regards to connected television and pieces like that. So traditionally, if I was talking to a group of offline TV traders. A lot of the conversation today is quite into their league of measurement and pieces like that. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to personalize a lot of this to the programmatic buyers from a digital point of view today also. So to give you all a background on what we're going to be talking about, so I'll go through the TV history and the current landscape. We're going to talk through the 3 current challenges of TV buying. We're then going to cover off how Yahoo is helping give you additional insights and value to answer parts of those challenges that exist today as well. I'll talk through the advanced television suite and all of its parts. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of an understanding of some of the insights that you'll actually get from a measurement point of view and what you can start to do with this as it's in market and over the next couple of years as well. But first off, to help you kind of understand what we're talking about and where we're coming from, it's really a good idea for us to talk about where we've come from in the first place. So the biggest part about our overall history is that you may know that we've had a couple of different name changes over the last couple of years. And that's primarily because of a bunch of different acquisitions that happened throughout the period. Now, all of these acquisitions have built us into the kind of powerhouse piece of technology that we are today. But you can kind of see on this slide that from a demand side platform point of view, we went through 7 different pieces of technology and integrated that into one, which is called the Yahoo demand side platform. Now, within that, you may see the brands on the left, such as AOL, Adapt TV, Right Media, Brightroll, and Millennial Media. All of these different pieces of technology have enabled us to form what we call the Yahoo Unified Stack. So on the exchange side or the SSP side at the bottom, you can see that we've also taken 5 different exchanges and we've built all of that into one overall Yahoo exchange. And then bread and butter, what is core to the overall programmatic approach for Yahoo is also our Yahoo native inventory, which is a really significant part of any of the omni-channel strategies that we work with for any of our clients in market. Now, you can kind of think about the Yahoo Unified Stack like it is a direct competitor to Google, because it is. We're pretty much the only provider outside of Google that has first-party data that powers all of the technology from a demand point of view, but all of the exchange data as well from a supply point of view. So it puts all of our advertisers in a really nice space. Now, the reason why I'm talking about where we've come from is because there was a period which everyone knows where we were called Verizon Media. And when we were called Verizon Media, in the US, Verizon, the telecommunications company, actually owned a piece of technology called Verizon Fios. Now, Verizon Fios is in about 30% of households in the US, and you can directly compare it to Foxtel here in Australia from an actual media delivery point of view. Verizon, as part of that ownership period there, put in place all of the fundamentals to drive the technology forward, but they also gave us a direction to focus on advanced television and a lot of the stuff that I'm going to focus on today for you. There's a lot of unique capabilities that still come out of our actual partnership with Verizon, because they still own 10% of our overall business globally as well, because they knew that they wanted to be a part of our growth. So in terms of where we're going, let's just cover off the fundamentals from a TV point of view, just so that everybody understands all of the pieces that we're talking about. If we start to kind of talk about the history of television from all the way back in 1955, when the original TV license was created, you can see all of the different channels that started to be created over the next 10 to 15 years after this period. So 9 Network, ABC, 7, 10, etc. all came forth. But then in 1992, we started to see that pay TV was one of the major things that started to launch into the market. Off the back of that, we saw Foxtel, we saw the actual digital signature for how television is actually delivered start to change with the actual introduction of HD channels. We started to see the first of our BVOD partners here in Australia start to launch to market as well, with SBS, Foxtel Now, 10Play, Stan as well. From a subscription video on demand point of view. Now, off the back of that, we know that Netflix, Disney Plus, all of these other SVOD partners have come to market. And overall, throughout this period, you can kind of see the really, really significant shift to digital-led and digital delivery for a lot of these video-based advertising and content offerings. Now, with that kind of shift, obviously measurement needs to be one of the biggest parts that actually comes with that journey as well. And we know that TV fundamentally has been measured by a company called OzTAM here in Australia, which is the standardized measurement. But the conversation shifted to how can you measure the incremental household reach that all of these digital deliveries are starting to drive on top of your traditional TV investment. And that's why Virtual Oz, or VOZ for short, was created and started to measure all of that incrementality over this period as well. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what all of this relates to within our overall TV product as we go through, but this kind of sets a nice stage for the overall market and where we've come from. When we start to understand each of the individual TV networks, when we look at an audience share, Channel 7 and Channel 9 are usually quite neck and neck in terms of how they are actually delivering within this market. You know, Channel 10 typically has a little bit more of a younger demographic, which they win in right now, and that's a major part of any media mix. SBS is seen as a very, very unique audience compared to the other three in market as well, alongside Foxtel. Now, when we start to understand how all of this is measured, it's really important to kind of look at it from the OzTAM point of view, because this is the standardized approach within the Australian market. The way that it's typically broken down, right, is that you have different panels within each of the different markets, whether that be a regional market or a metro market. All of those are powered by Nielsen people meters, which are physically measuring what people are actually watching within those households. Now, the big challenge, and this is what I'm going to start to talk about soon, is none of this is consolidated across those different regions. You're measuring within each of those unique regions just by itself. But overall, you can see that the metro markets in Australia has around 5,250 households that they use as the proxy to deliver to that total metro region from a demographic point of view. So the Sydney market, you know, would be 1,475 homes that is then extrapolated to the total population of Sydney. Now, the reason why I'm starting to talk through this is because when we have that kind of understanding of the measurement, we know that whilst it is standardized, it isn't simple, and it doesn't enable you guys to be as agile as you want from an overall measurement point of view. So there's really three kinds of challenges that start to come into this. So brands and agencies, you don't necessarily get real-time consolidated data. It's not, you know, kind of consolidated across those metro and regional markets like we spoke of. When we start to talk about the BVOD and the linear piece, right, until VOZ came around, it wasn't pulled together and consolidated to help you understand what that incrementality was. And then the data itself, right now, it's 1 week after in terms of when it actually gets to you for you to be able to make business decisions off the back of it. I'm going to talk about this a little bit further as we start to go through. Now, one of the biggest changes that has happened to our overall global market in the last couple of months is that we're really starting to understand the entrance of AVOD-based buying, right? So Netflix and Disney Plus have started to increase or deliver their overall ad-supported video on demand model. There's a lot of conversation in market right now about Netflix, but there's also going to be that conversation around Disney Plus soon. And what this means right now is that the standardized measurement approach for total TV in Australia isn't actually future-proof to the level of being able to measure all of these additional partners as they start to come to market. So talking about offline to online, we don't really have a standardized measurement that can look at total television in all of its forms right now. And this is why there's additional pieces of technology and measurement that we're going to be talking about today that are starting to help answer these different pieces. The last challenge is that that reporting that you get each week can't be used for any other purpose. So you can get it and you can make future decisions on it from an overall buying point of view, but from a forecasting point of view, that data is not used with any of the actual tools that you use for TV forecasting right now. And then if you start to have a conversation around BVOD, it's not actually used for targeting methodologies either from a programmatic point of view. Apart from if you're buying directly with those TV networks, there may actually be some pieces that they're including there. Now, in terms of how we're starting to help answer some of these challenges, the key thing that we've been looking at is that whilst the majority of the market has been trying to focus on BVOD on top of linear, we've been trying to help the market understand total media. So this is primarily all media that can be bought programmatically and what its relationship is with linear television by itself. So we're not incorporating other forms of offline media right now. If we're talking about radio, print, etc., this is fundamentally about things that can be addressable within a programmatic platform and what that relationship looks like for television. So in terms of what we're doing and the three kinds of things that we'll be talking to you about today is that Yahoo is the only provider in market as of today that has forecasting, targeting, and measurement for total television and all digital media channels alongside that. So that might be streaming audio, it could be display, short form video, connected television, and the BVOD elements within that. We're going to have Yahoo Native as a part of this. And then in the future, as programmatic out of home starts to mature, that will start to become a part of this as well. So you'll be able to understand what the relationship is between all of these different channels. The Advanced Television Suite itself enables you to consolidate all of your programmatic media buying into one overall platform, and then you can understand what that true incremental household reach is of those digital channels alongside linear television. And a really important part here is that with this increased insight and understanding from a measurement piece, you'll actually be able to make greater investment decisions in the future. And the reason why you can do that is because we're going to give you the incremental household reach of not just every media channel, not just every media device, but also all of your media partners within your overall buying also. So a really great way of kind of looking at this is last week, Channel 9 had their upfronts and they spoke about total media at length. If we look at all of the digital components within Channel 9's overall network, whether it be the digital radio output, any of their mastheads, any of their connected television, etc., you'll be able to measure all of those different pieces within within Channel 9's overall ecosystem and be able to report on them on top of Channel 9's linear free-to-air measurement itself. So it was actually a really great thing that they spoke about last week because it makes these types of conversations actually a lot more relevant in terms of measurement and how we start to approach it with advertisers. Now, as I start to go through this, please feel free to just pop any questions into the actual chat here, because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is a little bit new from an overall conversation point of view. And what I'll do is I might prompt you for some pieces as we start to go through it. So first off, effectively, what this overall piece of technology is partnered and built in collaboration with is a piece of tech called automated content recognition data. Now, for everyone that's on this call, can you do me a favor and please just pop into the chat, what brand of TV do you have in your household? Feel free to just chuck that into the chat similar to what we did before. Samsung, Hisense, Samsung. Okay, cool. So what is Falcon? That's a new one. I'm learning something new today. I haven't heard of that TV. Okay, cool. So look, you can see that there's a nice range there, Panasonic, Sony, etc. You can start to see that there is a lot of Samsungs that are coming through there, and that's probably because Samsung is actually one of the largest providers in the Australian market from a TV point of view. But obviously there is a number of other brands that exist within this market also. So fundamentally, for those televisions that we're talking about here, in the actual back of those televisions is a piece of technology called a software development kit. Now, it is measuring every piece of visual imagery that hits your actual screen on the actual television itself. Now, what that is referred to is what we're talking about here called automatic content recognition. And all of that measurement, it can actually be used for a whole ton of different mechanisms, which I'm going to take you through today. So as you can see here, just a quick definition, ACR is a technology built into smart TVs that is used to identify what is playing on a TV. Put simply, it enables a smart TV to listen or see what's playing on screen. Now, the partnership that we've built this with here in Australia is called Samba Tv. Globally, in terms of how this operates, as Julia mentioned, what we're talking about today is only available in the United States. Australia is the first country globally outside of the United States that has this overall technology. In the US, we actually have a partnership with Vizio televisions themselves. So outside of the US, we've had to find the partnership that could enable all of this technology, and that's what we've done with Samba TV. In terms of how it's used in practice, so Samba TV, as I said, directly installed within the back of the actual television. It has the ability to understand all the visual imagery that's coming through there, whether it is a television program that is playing, whether it's an advertisement, what time it was playing, what was the piece of technology, was it a PlayStation, was it a Telstra TV device, Foxtel, etc. Now, there is 350,000 televisions in Australia that actually have this measure. So if we go back to what we were talking about with OzTam, where the metro markets have 5,000 in total, the regional markets have just over 1,500. When we talk about this overall ACR data piece, there's 350,000 nationally that exist within this. So this is a piece of tech that's going to give you additional insights into everything that's going on from an overall measurement point of view, because it's roughly around 2% of total Australian devices in the actual market. Now, when we start to talk about how these two pieces of information start to connect, ACR data enables you to understand things like, was that program viewed on Telstra TV? Was the ad viewed on Channel 9? Was it a household that had already viewed your brand's ad on linear television? Or was it a household that had viewed one of your competitors' ads? These are little pieces of information that we can use to build and understand and use it for targeting and measurement. But when it's actually partnered and integrated with DSP data, it enables you to do a whole host of additional things, which is what this overall Yahoo Advanced Television Suite is that we're talking about today. So what we do, right, if we take that understanding of that physical measurement of what's going on your television, all of that is resolved back to an identifier that relates to that television itself. We take that identifier and we match it back to Yahoo's own household identity graph, which has 9.7 million connected televisions and can reach over 18 million Australians within this market. Now, once we make that match, anything that is bought through the Yahoo DSP, we can fundamentally understand whether that measurement was incremental to the linear TV that you've actually been running as well, or whether it is overlapping in terms of a reach point of view. So it's really unique because it starts to give you more in-depth understanding about the relationship between your digital channels and your traditional TV channels. Now, why do we even have it in the data, have this kind of data in the DSP? If we talk about the kind of the simple parts of it, if a brand spends money on linear TV, being able to connect millions of dollars in linear TV spend to any dollar on CTV or digital spend is extremely valuable from an overall measurement and a negotiation point of view. It helps brands understand how they can spend more efficiently across both linear and digital, and still reach the desired households in the desired number of times from a frequency point of view. Legacy TV buyers, if you're just purely buying linear television by itself, you're most likely wary of digital. So helping you guys understand all of the households that are not being reached on linear and proving what that value is there in terms of spend and additional reach is really kind of key to being able to unlock these total media conversations with your actual brands that you're also working with. So if we talk about why incremental household reach itself, if you have a brand buying on linear TV, incremental reach of each additional channel or each additional media partner will be a North Star for them to understand the incremental households they are reaching on digital that they are not reaching on linear. And this allows them to quantify the actual value of each additional channel that they're actually spending with. So to give you now a view into the overall advanced television suite, this is something that I've personally been talking about in market for about 18 months already. We have gone through a significant level of consultation with Australian brands and different agencies across the overall media market here, trying to help personalize this overall product to the Australian market, but also try to make it simple enough and simplified enough from an overall technology point of view that it helps you actually improve results and start to have different conversations with your brands. So as we've been talking about, right, it's to help you understand the incremental household reach for all digital media channels on top of linear television. And from an overall buying point of view right now, it's primarily available only on Yahoo's self-serve product. In about a year to a year and a half's time, we're also going to make it available on a managed insertion order product for the future also. Now, the three pieces to it are very much here to try and help answer the end-to-end spectrum of media, right? You want the ability to forecast incremental household reach. You want the ability to target and optimize with it, but you also want the ability, and this is probably the most important part, to measure it. So if we focus on the measurement piece right now, as I stated earlier, you're going to be able to understand the incremental household reach of each media channel, each media device, and each media partner. With the cross-screen planner, you're going to be able to forecast all of that information as well across each of those different digital channels, as well as media partners also. And then when we start to talk about viewership targeting, what we can actually enable you to do is understand or build segments of people that have been exposed to your brand's ads on linear, but not on digital, or they've been exposed to your competitors' brands on linear, but not on digital. And you can start to deliver really, really robust forms of targeting and measurement and segmentation across those different approaches also. Now, the really kind of cool part about this is what I was talking about earlier about the fact that we've done a lot of consultation with different agency groups and with different brands and advertisers as well, is the fact that this is personalized to the Australian market. So if we go back to what I was talking about earlier with OzTem and VOZ, we've built in the same types of metro and regional panels into this product so that when you're talking about connected television or BVOD from a buying or a forecasting point of view, you can have the exact same type of conversation with your TV planners from an overall panel size. What we've also done is we built into it TARPs. Right? I didn't think that 11 years on into my career, I'd be sitting here talking about TARPs within a programmatic media buying platform. But what we wanted to make sure is that for all of your conversations internally, whether it be with the television, with the TV traders, or whether that be with brands themselves, you're able to talk in a common language. Now, when we talk about TARPs, it's not OzTem, the actual data or the universe that we're using. What we're using is Yahoo's own universe instead as the basis for that measurement. So the information can be talked about in comparison, but you'll just need to understand that there might be little differences in between the two different data sets itself. Now, if we want to talk about the cross-screen planner, this is, you can see a little bit of a video of it just in here. Normally in these types of sessions, I jump into the platform, but we wanted to just make sure that this was just a very straightforward presentation rather than getting you into the DSP itself. In this piece, you can see all of the different kinds of parameters that you'll be able to include here. We've built in day parting, we've built in TARPs, we've built in the ability to put in what your actual investment size is per channel in a percentage form. You can input the number of TARPs into the platform also. And what it's going to do is it's going to run the forecast based on that. And it'll give you an overall digital investment kind of lens on everything from an incremental household point of view. It'll then take it down into each of the different channels and help you kind of understand what that overall looks like for connected television versus audio versus display, native, etc. as well. And within there, one of the really, really unique pieces is that if you've actually negotiated with all of the different media partners and you have preferential deals, we can actually run this overall forecast based on those preferential deals. So if you have pre-negotiated rates with Channel 9, Channel 7, 10, etc., that can actually be pulled into here to forecast based on that for you as part of your overall campaign. When we start to talk about the targeting elements, this is what I was just referring to earlier. The idea here is that you're trying to maximize the incremental reach within your campaign. What it's also going to enable you to do is do sequential messaging. Okay, so if you've realized that this person has been exposed to your message on linear television, you can then reach them on digital with a different price point or a different brand message, etc. And at the end of the day, it's about trying to drive greater awareness, but also greater sales impact physically into your stores or through your e-commerce websites as well. The Unified TV report here, you can actually see this also. And I'm going to actually take you through this part a little bit later, just talking about the unique types of insights that are available. But it enables you to understand BVOD overall, BVOD devices, the media partners within that, but also every digital channel. It's going to give you really granular information there to actually empower your upfront negotiations that you go into with all of your media partners. It's going to give you additional pieces like audience overlap, linear and digital frequency, TARP measurement, as well as net new households that you're reaching every single week. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. If we refer to all of the data that is readily available for you here as well, I referenced earlier the Yahoo household identity graph. That has over 18 million people within it. When we start to talk about the individual households within it, there's 9.7 million. And that is pretty much the IAB figure for the number of households that have a connected television device within them. From a data point of view, you have the ability to look at your Yahoo audiences within that. You have the ability to look at Samba TV's audiences, which we've spoken about. You can onboard your own first-party data. You can onboard any third-party data provider as well. And then from a capability point of view, you can start to look at this from a household or a person level for targeting. You can look at household or person level frequency capping. And then one of the really awesome parts that's starting to come to market right now is dynamic creative and how that can actually be utilized across connected television devices also. And as I said before, this is about trying to empower your overall approach to media spend and media measurement, but also part of your negotiations as well. And you can always reference that piece that I spoke about earlier with 9 Network and how that operates to be able to give you total measurement across everything that they're talking about. So I'm just going to briefly go through some of these different measurement pieces, and then what I might do is I'll just open it up to any questions that you have. So one of the big pieces is that within the Yahoo DSP, we have a piece of technology called the Audience Insights platform. That TV viewership data from Samba TV is directly fed into here, and we can give you insights about what actual TV channels or what different regions from a panel point of view your consumers are most likely going to be in, or the TV channels that they are most likely going to be watching. And this is actually going to help inform your overall linear television, but also your digital television buying. When we start to understand reach, this is what the type of piece of information is that we're going to give you within here. So you'll be able to understand your total media from a total reach point of view at a household level. You'll be able to understand the digital reach within that, the linear reach within that, and then you'll be able to understand what is the incrementality of those two across each other. And you can see what that looks like here, where it says incremental digital reach, incremental linear, and the overlapping reach as well. We help you get information about that at the channel, the device, and the media partner level. So for any of your digital devices or domains, you can actually see each of the different media partners and what their incremental reach would be on top of your linear TV investment. But then we also do the flip. So it's really important not just to understand what is the incrementality of digital on top of linear, we also help you understand what is the incrementality of the linear on top of digital. And this means that if you're looking at that example of 9 Network, you can actually go, all right, the linear version of Channel 9, their free-to-air channels, is actually driving this much incrementality on top of their digital channels. And within those types of media buys, you'll be able to move budget around and try to negotiate better with that type of information. What I was referring to also, so we have the ability to measure and report on net new households that you're reaching every single week. So if we think about a large brand campaign, you may have a kind of a KPI of delivering 60% reach share of voice numbers as well, and a frequency of say 1+ within your market. What you would want for your campaign is to make sure that it is consistently increasing or being steady in terms of the number of net new households that you are delivering against every single week. If your digital starts to drop off, this is where you can actually implement those Samba TV segments that we were talking about earlier, because that's going to enable you to optimize and increase that overall reach again within your campaign. We also help you understand and report on total frequency for your media investment. So we'll look at what is the deduped frequency across digital and linear, but then we also split those two out. So you'll get digital frequency as well as your linear television frequency across any of your buys. When we look at the investment decisions that you can make, one of the kind of key things that you start to understand is what is the cost per incremental reach within your campaign. You might look at this channel 2 as SBS, channel 8 as channel 9, and you can see here that these metrics here, these are all just fundamental digital metrics. It's when you start to come in with incrementality that you start to understand how is it more efficient for me to actually drive an additional 1,000 households within my media buy. So here in this case, we can see that that example of channel 2 here has a unique incremental reach of 69%. This one has 70%, but the cost per incremental reach is $91 here versus $251 here, meaning that it's actually more efficient to drive an additional 1,000 households via this media channel than via this one here. One of the other last pieces that we give from an insight point of view is audience overlap. So if we're talking about all of your broadcast video on demand, you can actually understand the audience overlap between those individual media networks against each other within your buy. And you can understand, does it have a high overlap or does it have a low overlap just here? So at the end of the day, just finishing this off for everyone, these were the 3 points that we spoke about. So Yahoo's the only provider in market that has forecasting, targeting, and measurement for total television and all digital media channels. We enable you to consolidate all of your buy into one to help you understand what is the true incremental reach of all of those different channels that you're buying against linear television, and then start to make real investment decisions off the back of it. And it helps you understand the actual contribution that each of those media partners has from an overall reach point of view as well within your overall media buy. And that's where I'm going to end it up today. So there's quite a lot of information within that that we've spoken about. But if there's any questions, please feel free to just populate it within the chat box just here.
I might kick off the discussion and questions. Thank you, Gilly, for taking the team through that. We've discussed this a number of times, of the fact that this is an evolving product. What do you think the next evolution of this advanced TV suite will look like?
I'd probably say, so within forecasting and planning, one of the biggest things is trying to be able to use standard TV planning approaches within that, such as spot schedules, and trying to take into account some of the TARP-based measurement that comes from OzTam as well. And one of the things that we're starting to improve is what does that forecasting or planning capability look like? So we're going to be improving that part of the technology a lot more over the next 6 months to 12 months. But I'd probably say if we're talking like big scale, one of the biggest things is talking about immersive capabilities, but also personalization. So within Yahoo Creative Studios, as part of our business, we have the ability to overlay QR codes across any BVOD or connected television capabilities. So the ability to serve that into a household and then be able to bring that up, drive a consumer directly to an e-commerce website, or have an immersive kind of engagement for your brand in that household as well, is probably one of the more unique things that we're starting to build into this capability also.
Amazing. Fabulous. Are there any questions from the crowd?
Oh, there's one there.
Great.
So what software and commitments are required from IMAA agencies to get on board? Fundamentally right now, it's just about minimum spend commitments. So typically it's around $80,000 to $100,000 a month in terms of the investment. And we realize that that's probably a little bit of a blocker to some agencies coming on board, but that's why we're going to be opening the overall product suite up to the managed IO part in the next year or so, as well, to kind of enable you guys to get access to this also. But if you have the ability to reach that right now, let's have a conversation, because there's a lot of value that can be driven within this overall suite right now.
Yeah, awesome. Any more questions, guys? Okay, well, we can connect everyone to everyone after the event. Thank you so much. That was a bloody really good and very interesting session. As I said before, I think there's nothing more interesting than the convergence of traditional and digital media as we change. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Andrew, so much. Thank you, MJ, for joining us and giving us that wonderful stuff. We will share this information behind our closed channel. And next week, we have got Foxtel talking to us about content. That's going to be done by Adam Gilchrist, the world's greatest wicket keeper. And that's a nice thing.
Another Gilly.
Another Gilly, yes. And it's a nice thing because I'm in Fiji next week, and Beck Colson's going to be running the session. And so it's in safe hands in more ways than ones. So Beck will be running next week's session. Thank you, everyone that participated in our education filming this week and our deep dive. There is 20 more seats left for the digital deep dive, as we're now at 190 or 220, whatever it is. There's only 20 more seats, so if you are going to come to that, please let us know, because it's running out fast. But thank you so much, guys. Really, really interesting. We'll connect everyone after this. Thank you, Yahoo, for being such great partners. We'll talk to everyone soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys.